In a world where one woman's courage determined the fate of an entire nation, the story of Esther rises, a tale of beauty, betrayal, and bravery that changed history forever. The story begins in the Grand Kingdom of Persia, under the rule of King Xerxes, who ruled over 127 provinces from India to Ethiopia. His empire was vast, his wealth unimaginable. During a lavish banquet, the king summoned his queen Vashti to parade her beauty before the nobles. But Vashti refused. Insulted and enraged, the king deposed her, declaring a search for a new queen. To find a new queen, the king's officials proposed a grand search. Let the most beautiful young virgins in the land be brought to the palace. Let them be prepared, and from them the king shall choose a queen. Meanwhile, there was a young woman named Hadassah. She was Jewish, born in exile, far away from her ancestors' homeland. Her parents died when she was very young, leaving her without a mother or father. But she was not alone. Her older cousin, Mordecai, took her in as his own daughter. Mordecai was a wise, steadfast man who worked near the king's gate in the city of Susa. Though life in Persia was not always easy for the Jews, Mordecai raised Hadassah with care, teaching her faith, humility, and strength. Hadassah blossomed into a woman of striking beauty, not only outwardly, but in spirit, and so it was decreed. From every province of Persia, young women were gathered. Among them was Hadassah, though by now she was known by her Persian name, Esther. Obedient to Mordecai's counsel, Esther did not reveal her Jewish heritage. For an entire year, the women went through beauty treatments, 6 months with oils, 6 months with perfumes and cosmetics. When Esther's turn came to meet the king, she asked for nothing more than what was advised by the keeper of the women, Haggai. But when King Xerxes saw her, he was captivated, not just by her beauty, but by her spirit. In her, he found something deeper, something that set her apart from all the others. He placed the crown upon her head and declared her Queen of Persia. Meanwhile, Mordecai, who often sat at the palace gates, overheard 2 officials plotting to assassinate King Xerxes. He reported it through Esther, and the king's life was saved. The incident was recorded in the royal chronicles, but Mordecai received no reward. Enter Haman, a powerful official who rose to become second in command in the empire. Everyone bowed before him, except Mordecai. Why? Because Mordecai, a Jew, refused to bow to any man. Haman's pride turned into fury. He didn't want to punish just Mordecai. He wanted to destroy all the Jews in the kingdom. Haman tricked the king into signing a decree that on a certain day, all Jews would be annihilated. When Mordecai learned of the decree, he tore his clothes and put on sackcloth and ashes, mourning bitterly. He sent word to Esther, "Do not think that because you are in the king's house, you alone will escape. If you remain silent at this time, deliverance for the Jews will arise from another place, but you and your father's family will perish. And who knows but that you have come to the kingdom for such a time as this?" Esther was shaken. To go before the king without being summoned was punishable by death. But she knew the destiny before her. She replied, "Go, gather all the Jews in Susa, fast for me for 3 days. I and my attendants will fast as well. Then I will go to the king, even though it is against the law. And if I perish, I perish." After 3 days of fasting, Esther dressed in her royal robes and entered the throne hall. The king looked at her, and, by the mercy of God, he held out his golden scepter, sparing her life. "What is it, Queen Esther?" he asked. "Even up to half the kingdom, it shall be yours." Esther invited the king and Haman to a private banquet. At the banquet, she invited them again for a second feast. Meanwhile, Haman's hatred for Mordecai burned hotter. He built a gallows 75 feet high, intending to hang Mordecai on it. But that very night, the king could not sleep. He asked for the royal chronicles to be read, and there it was, the record of Mordecai exposing the assassination plot. "Has Mordecai ever been rewarded for this?" the king asked. "No, nothing has been done," his attendants replied. The next morning, Haman came to request Mordecai's execution. But before he could speak, the king asked him what should be done for the man the king delights to honor. Thinking the king meant him, Haman suggested dressing the man in royal robes, placing him on the king's horse, and parading him through the city with shouts of honor. "Excellent," the king said. "Go at once. Do just as you have suggested for Mordecai the Jew." Haman was forced to honor the very man he hated most. At the second banquet, the king asked Esther again, "What is your petition, Queen Esther?" This time, Esther revealed her heart. "Spare my life and the lives of my people, for we have been sold to be destroyed and annihilated." The king was furious. "Who is this man who dares to do such a thing?" Esther pointed. "The adversary is this vile Haman." The king stormed out in anger. When he returned, Haman was begging Esther for his life, but it only sealed his fate. The king ordered Haman to be executed on the very gallows he had built for Mordecai. With Haman gone, the king gave his estate to Esther, who appointed Mordecai over it. The king also gave Mordecai his signet ring, the symbol of authority that had belonged to Haman. Mordecai was clothed in royal garments of blue and white, with a crown of gold and a robe of fine linen and purple. He was honored throughout the kingdom, and his fame spread far and wide. The Jews celebrated with joy, feasting, and gladness. The day that had been meant for their destruction became the day of their deliverance. This victory was remembered each year in the Feast of Purim, a celebration of God's deliverance through the courage of Esther and the faithfulness of Mordecai. The story of Esther reminds us that God positions people for purposes greater than themselves. Esther's beauty was not just for a crown, it was for a calling. Mordecai's loyalty was not forgotten, though delayed. It was richly rewarded. So here's the truth. You may be in your position, your family, your workplace, or even your struggles for such a time as this. Like Esther, you may be the key to someone else's deliverance. And like Mordecai, your faithfulness may one day be crowned with honor. Never underestimate where God has placed you. Sometimes, courage and obedience in the face of fear can change not just your life, but the destiny of generations to come.